Ladies and gentlemen, it brings me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker. He's a friend, he's a colleague, he's an amazing podcaster. He has a show called The System Is Down, which you can find at thesystemisdown.tv. Check that out. This guy really helped the Libertarian Party of Delaware this year. When the coup took place, the independent journalists of the party seized on that moment, and Dan got to have the Coosters on the show and kind of let them elaborate their own story, and it's there forever for the world to see. And yeah, it's beautiful that he's here to share this with us today. So give it up for Dan Smotz.
Can I move this? Is that okay? I'm gonna be disruptive. Libertarians, we do what we want. All right. So, all right. How's everybody doing?
Great.
How is the official Libertarian Party of Delaware doing today? So, my name is Dan Smotz. I do host The System Is Down, a podcast where we talk about conspiracies, politics, religion, all the really happy subjects that your family loves that you bring up around the Thanksgiving dinner table and stuff like that. I have a propensity for like the uncomfortable stuff. I think it's funny that you guys stuck me in between well, first you're like, hey, come here and speak. And I'm like, sure. And then you're like, Scott Horton's gonna go after you. I'm like, oh, cool. That's nothing to live up to there. And then you're like, hey, we'll put this smart lady before you too that knows all of her stuff, and you can come talk about your nerdy conspiracy things. But yeah, so I talk about that type of stuff on my show. I also have a media company, Goulash Media and Goulash Films. I've done videos for like the Vermin Supreme team, Spike Cohen's campaign, Joe Jorgensen's campaign, the Mises Caucus, and Angela McArdle. Oh, some Jeremy Kauffman stuff is coming out soon too, but no spoilers. And I'm not really sure if I want to announce that I'm a part of that. But anyway, so yeah, you put me before Scott Horton and before Adam Nutter. He's going to be here at some point, I assume, right? He's going to come tell some dirty jokes for liberty. Adam Nutter, I don't know if this is something you guys know or not, but he used to be a cop and then he transitioned into a libertarian comedian, so he's like definitely not a Fed or anything, but for real, like he is what we need to be focusing on, like that type of shit, like liberty community, liberty culture. He's doing the stuff that's not the politics, and I think we need more of that in this party. But anyway, you asked me to come, and I'm not an expert on anything. I have some weird views, and I did a thing that was, to me, kind of minimal, but seems to have helped you guys out, so that's cool. We'll talk more about that later, don't worry. So, sorry, I get really distracted, so I gotta keep my notes, otherwise I'll end up talking as long as Scott Horton will. And we don't have time for that, because Scott Horton's going to do that. So my passions are conspiracies, politics, and religion. I want to take this 30 minutes, just give you something, some little bit of value that you can maybe, use to apply to your life, something maybe challenge you a little bit. I like conspiracies, politics, religion. I also really am passionate about the true value of the individual, which as libertarians you would think we would care more about. And some things that we as libertarians just kind of overlook, I think, that we take for granted. First being conspiracy theories. And if you guys want, I'm sure we'll be hitting up Scott Horton after this, and we'll be powwowing around a campfire or something, trying to convince him that 9/11 was an inside job, but we'll see how that goes. So, I was billed as conspiracy guy. At first, I was billed as Scott Horton and others, and I'm honored to be the and others of Scott Horton for one thing. But everybody thinks I'm this conspiracy guy or whatever, and libertarians seem to have this aversion to conspiracy theory stuff because it's scary and it's edgy and it makes you sound like a crazy person. Raise your hand if you would label yourself a conspiracy theorist. Okay, we're preaching to the choir tonight. That's cool. In good company, but some of you are still a little skeptical, I see, but it's fine. You don't have to label yourself a conspiracy theorist because the government already has. Even libertarians run the list with terrorists and white supremacists and the alt-right and everything. It doesn't really matter like what they're calling us, because if they're calling you something, you're doing something right. That means they care about you. So, conspiracy theory stuff is like a CIA term. That's like something that they came up with to make us all sound like crazy people, like Alex Jones and everything like that. But they also, have extremist and radical, and we seem to love those ones for some reason. A label is only bad until you embrace it and just say, yeah, I'm that, because they're calling me much worse things right now. So I understand that we want to be credible, we want to be taken seriously in the mainstream, and we all want to be Scott Horton and take down Bill Kristol and bring back that severed head, Bill Kristol, but we can't all do that. And we all want to be taken seriously in this party, or outside of this party, we want this party to be taken seriously, but how well is that going so far? It's that's what I thought. Real quiet. You guys are real quiet. So, anything fringe currently is like deemed evil, basically, and that's how you know you're doing something right, because you're mocking the king, you're pointing out the flaws in the system, and that is the real point of the stuff that I do. My approach is basically just, when it comes to conspiracies, politics, and religion, I hold everything very loosely and just kind of approach it from the, I don't know, but I believe certain things. I think certain things, and also, I don't know exactly what is on some things, but I know it's not what they're telling me, because they seem to have this propensity for lying. I don't know if you've noticed, but they're not the most trustworthy folks up there in the government. Now, raise your hand if you trust the government. Okay.
To lie to me.
Nice. Nice. So now, as a conspiracy crazy guy, all I'm asking you to do is trust your government a little bit less. That's it. Just distrust them a little harder. That's all it takes. There are lots of conspiracy theories, lots of things that we talk about on my show. Some of them are fun, like thought experiments. They're like the classic ones, the ones that libertarians they typically think, oh, these are too crazy for discussion, like your 9/11s, your JFKs, your moon landings, your flat earths, your 5Gs, your chemtrails, your Nephilims, all these fun things, the best parts of life. You guys don't seem to like those things. However, we can talk about all of them. We don't have time for all that. But yeah, I have a table. Also, it's kind of tragic that my table is only $25 cheaper than Scott Horton's table. I don't know who's in charge of money here, but whatever. Also, if you guys were looking to be taken seriously as this new party and everything, I don't know what I'm doing up here, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the vote of confidence. You asked me to come up here and just speak. That's quite a strange concept. Just come move your mouth and rally the troops that you've never met before. Make mouth sounds that are really inspiring. But anyway, back to, like I said, I get distracted easily. So there's those conspiracies, then there's the declassified ones that we seem to never hear about unless we actually start doing the digging. Things like Operation Northwoods. The CIA conspired to carry out acts of terrorism on American civilian and military targets in Blaine, Cuba, to justify a war with Cuba. MKUltra, illegal CIA human experimentation program where they drugged and tortured US and Canadian civilians in a literal attempt to perfect the art of brainwashing. These are things that exist on Wikipedia. It's perfectly acceptable. They just don't ever tell you, hey, these things are true. But they're all declassified. USS Liberty, cover-up of, Israel bombing our own ships, our allies, and covered all that up. Oh, Hunter Biden's laptop. I read that book back when it was still fan fiction. And now, I find it less fun, because I don't want these things to be true at all. Bill Gates is currently, literally, conspiring to block out the sun. I don't know if that, feels like, I'm not saying he is, an evil Superman villain, but if you were gonna, write an evil Superman villain, how about the guy who's trying to block out the sun, buying up all the farmland, making artificial breast milk a normal thing, and real good friends with Jeffrey Epstein, which brings me to my next point, Jeffrey Epstein. We live in a time where Pedophile Island is not a conspiracy anymore. It's not a theory. It just is a thing in real life. And I don't think we've really let that sink in yet. And how many people have been on trial for that? 3, 2 of them died, and one of them, we haven't ever seen pictures of her going into or out of the prison cell or anything like that, whatever. we spent 2 years with our government conspiring to convince us all that we'd be dead by now, and seems like we're doing okay. And finally, we have, on October 1st, 2021, Will McVeigh, the retarded younger brother of Timothy McVeigh, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I'm not from around here. Fact check me. I don't know things. Conspired to steal the entire Libertarian Party of Delaware from its rightful owners. And he lost. He lost real bad. Now that happened with like the smallest amount of power possible. No offense, Bill, or Amy, any of you guys. The smallest amount of power possible, like to be able to still say you have some amount of power, still led to corruption, still led to a guy conspiring to take a thing over. You think that if Will McVeigh can do this, what are the odds that the government, that I already don't trust, isn't doing much, much, much worse shit than Will McVeigh is doing? So keep that in mind. Just be open-minded, but be realistic. Like the more realistic thing to think is that, yeah, 9/11, that Building 7 thing, I've never seen buildings just collapse before. Whatever. We're not here to get into the deep nitty-gritty, but yeah, check out my podcast. It's got a lot of these things. But let's move on to some politics. And if you want to know about politics coming out of conspiracies, just go back and reread my conspiracies notes because it's basically the same thing at this point. All politics are like conspiracy shit. Like you watch CNN and they lie to you every day. And then you turn on Fox, the opposition, and they're lying to you too. So if you're not convinced that politics are like all conspiratorial and there's like shadowy government figures or whatever, as soon as you see the frat boy Bohemian Grove like mock sacrifices and half of Jeffrey Epstein's list, it's like, well, what are the odds that the rest of y'all aren't in this too? So politics. Politics is everything now. I don't know if you noticed, it's in Hollywood, it's in movies, you turn on the TV, no matter what it is, no matter what the subject is, it's all politics. Now I know I'm kind of in a room of people that seem to like politics, so some of this might not be, there you go. No libertarian politicians like politics, otherwise you shouldn't trust them. So a lot of people think that it's bad that politics are like so steeped in our culture now and they're taking over everything, but I kind of see it as a good thing because I wasn't paying attention to politics before Donald Trump. Like I was into like the conspiracies and I like heard of Ron Paul a little bit back in the day, but I didn't really know anything, wasn't following anything. I was raised like super conservative Christian and my dad was a pastor and all that. And I was raised Republican, so I made some bad voting choices in my life, we'll say. And I just voted because that was what you do. And I didn't really pay any attention to it until Donald Trump came along. The silver lining of Donald Trump is he made a lot of people pay attention to politics that weren't paying attention before. And I was like voting Republican this whole time, and then I'm like, wow, I'm gonna pay attention because this guy's fascinating. This is a train wreck waiting to happen. And when I started paying attention, I was like, wait, I'm not a Republican. Oh. So I watched all the Republican debates, and then I was like, I'll watch all the Democrat debates too. I'm like, I sure as hell ain't that either. And then I found you guys, and it was like Gary Johnson versus John McAfee versus Austin Peterson versus, what's his name? Daryl Perry, like some crazy fuckers. And that was enough for me to go, they're still talking more reasonably, more respectfully. Like they're getting mad about crazy things like toaster ovens and stuff, but still, these guys are making a lot more sense than those guys. So I think we need to really take advantage and seize the moment of this time where people are really paying attention to politics. Because when they find us, if we're doing these things right, if we're making culture and making a society around this movement, then people will go looking for the other thing. And if we're just like sitting around arguing about like minutia stuff and not getting out there making a difference in the culture, they're just gonna overlook us and assume we're as bad as the Green Party. But so, what else we got here? Yeah, a lot of people obviously have issues with Trump. I did too. But I would rather have the chaos of Trump. I would rather have people constantly scrutinizing every time Trump has a bowel movement and like tweeting about that and going crazy about, oh, this, like even if they're lying about the things that he's doing and they're just outraged about it, they're paying attention. Barack Obama was a great president because nobody was paying attention. Like, I would rather, let's criticize Biden's bowel movements instead of ignoring when he drops bombs on American citizens with drones. Like, some of these things are, I would rather we pay attention and see the bad things, even if it comes with all the trash. But, so, yeah, now that they're paying attention, regardless of all of our stuff, regardless of Aleppo, regardless of, unconsensual fat stripteases at national conventions, regardless of Joe Jorgensen's SCOTUS pick that nobody asked for, regardless of rampant shit posters, regardless of Bill Weld in general, regardless of Will McVeigh, and regardless of that asshole, Dave Casey, we're still the best choice. And we have the most fun, and we need to be having the most fun. I think we're doing it wrong if we're not having fun. I grew up, like I said, so we're going to get into some religious stuff, which it'll kind of tie in. I grew up very religious and stuff, and long story short, had a falling out of that in my early adult years. Had a deconstruction phase basically, where I broke everything down to almost agnostic and atheist and all that, and then I kind of built it back up to something that I think is more real and more honest. But we won't get too deeply into it, but I came to this realization that I think a lot of this, in all of these things, it's about understanding what we don't know, about being humble enough to go, I think something's off here, I don't know for sure, I should stop speaking in definitives, when we should have an open mind and explore different trains of thought, but we should have discernment and understand what is true and what's not true. But yeah, a lot of the stuff is just humbling yourself to realize when you don't know things. Because if somebody's, speaking a different religion to you or speaking about conspiracy stuff and you're like, oh, that's stupid. Yeah, but have you done the work? Do you know what they know? Have you walked, do you have all the variables that have gone through their life to make them the person that they are that came to that conclusion? I think we need to spend more time listening to people and trying to figure out why they believe what they believe. Except for communists, they're, yeah, so I rebuilt myself back up in faith, probably still most closely to Christian, but I mostly believe that we all have things to learn. We all don't know the things that we think we know. I think that there's a designer to all of this, because this seems a little too good and too perfect for it to be just happenstance, but I believe in a designer and a creator because I believe there's a reason, there's things that we just can't explain with science. There's why do we make art? Why is art a thing? It makes no logical sense that music is magic. You're twanging on strings and it vibrates in certain ways that makes you go, I have this emotion. That makes zero scientific sense, but it exists. And I believe it's because we are created and we're supposed to create in some way or another as kind of the example of that passed on. And not everybody obviously is an artist. A lot of libertarians are really bad artists, I've noticed. But I think that everybody has a drive to build and create something of some sort, or build community and that type of thing. And this might be, I think that everybody has a purpose and has a value in this fabric of humanity. I know it's hippy dippy woo woo shit, but I think everybody has this purpose, and a lot of us are spending our time not trying to figure out what that is. We're spending our time doing the thing, whatever it is, the 9 to 5, come home, drink a beer, kick your kids around, and then go to bed, do it again. It's kind of the same with politics too. We're doing a lot of treading tires because we're doing the same things over and over again. And this might be pretty unpopular at a political convention that invited me out to speak at it, but I don't think everybody's purpose is politics. I think, I think there's not a moral good to it necessarily, and there's no guaranteed value in doing it. I think passion brings more value. And there's some of us that are supposed to be doing the politics stuff. Some people, they have that passion, they have that drive, or they have that message, or whatever. They should be doing that. And the rest of us need to be supporting them and focusing more on our passion and creating just our own freedom in our own lives, in our own liberty. I'm not like a post-libertarian or whatever. I know that's heretical. I'm not, but I do think that there's value in like trying to figure out what exactly it is that you were made for. Because if you think that you were made for, running for political office, and then you spend your entire life pulling your hair out running for political office, and you never actually advance liberty in the political system, that might not have been the thing, and you might die, miserable, and then your kids don't have any more freedom and liberty when you die because of it, when you could have been, I don't know, being passionate about something and enjoying life and creating personal liberty, personal freedom for you and your kids. And again, like, nothing against y'all that are running for the politics, more power to you, but it's not for me. And everybody's a leader, but we don't all have to be political leaders. We should be propping up the people that are and helping them for sure. But I'm not up here speaking to you because I ran for office. I'm up here because I had some stupid conspiracy podcast thing, and it just so happened that it worked out that it afforded me a lot of great opportunities. I've interviewed some great people like Tom McDonald and Juanita Broderick, and I lost my place in here. Lots of people that I did totally do. Let's see, where are we at here? Lots of things, and I'll find it, whatever. It's afforded me a lot of opportunities, like interviewing great people, John McAfee, God rest his soul, and but it has also afforded me the honor, of course, of helping expose the corrupt chairman of the Mandalorian Party of Delaware, and so that's a big deal to you guys, but to me, I was just like, I'll just have this dude on and see what happens. I did not expect him to show up after being so damn corrupt. I did not expect him to show up without an argument or whatever. If I hadn't responded, if I just let him talk, he would have dug his own grave. Is it he showed up 3 feet deep with a shovel in hand, let's get this party started. And I'm like, okay, well, so you're telling me what you did was bad? Yes. Oh. So you feel good about that? No. So you're gonna stop? No, I'm not. Okay. I don't know what you want, dude, but cool. And bonus, if I was doing politics, I want to be making these campaign videos for everybody else. I would be making my own campaign videos and focusing on my own thing, but because I'm seeking my passion in this different way, we have lots of ways that are, lots of areas that are lacking in the liberty community. And I think a lot of it is because we're focused everything on the politics of it, when we should be focused on Adam Nutter doing political comedy and stuff like that, to actually boost the culture and actually make something, Call the Remnant. And let's see. Okay, yeah, don't waste your life. Don't waste your life, kids. Don't go to college. Yeah, and again, some people are made for the nasty political stuff, and that's great. If you're gonna do it, though, you better be politicsing your ass off, because there's a lot of people in this movement, not here. You guys are all great. You guys took this all back, so that's great. But there's a lot of people in our party, in the full thing, that are clearly, they don't seem to be made for, or they're not doing the thing that they were made for. They're out there trying to message and they don't really have a message, or they're out there trying to run and they're not running, or if they get into office, they're not really pushing for this stuff. They're not putting in the work. And if you're not willing to speak boldly into an empire of lies, then what is your point in opening your mouth? Just shut up. It's fine. Maybe your thing is knitting for liberty. I don't know, but just we don't all have to be doing the same thing. I think Will McVeigh probably has a really good passion. I bet he'd make a lovely Pilates instructor. I don't know, something, whatever he's there for. I would just bet, though, that, and I don't want to speak for him, but if I had to guess, he probably doesn't feel like he's living out the thing that he's supposed to be living out right now either. I could be wrong. But, and side note, in addition to politics, Twitter is also not for everybody. Just saying. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. Just like politics, if you're not, accomplishing something, it's a great tool to have at your disposal to troll the king, to use to your advantage, but if you're not enjoying it, don't use it. Leave as quickly as possible, because it's awful, but if you use it right, it's a lot of fun. So, how much time do I got? Anybody know how long we're doing here?
Keep going.
All right, cool. Keep going. 7 minutes, cool. So, I might be wrong about like all this stuff. I might be wrong about the conspiracy stuff. Obviously, we're not digging too deeply into this, but if you're like at my table, I'm sure we'll talk about flat Earth or the moon landing or something fun later on. But I could very well be wrong about all these things. I might be crazy. You might not agree with what I believe. That's fine, because it does not matter what I believe or what you believe. It doesn't matter what any of us believe at all. What matters is the truth. And in everything, there's pretty much everything. There's some exceptions, but in pretty much everything, there is one truth. Our society right now would have you believe there are all sorts of truths to everything. That chair is not just gray, it's also brown or purple if it feels like it. But there's truth, and you can feel the truth, and you can feel when things aren't true. So there's one truth, and the rest of this all is lies. And I just want to like encourage you guys to just keep seeking truth. Keep seeking to expand your brain and expand, like, have your mind open to things, have discernment and all that, but listen to people and try to understand their point of view. Keep seeking truth, and if you're lucky enough to find it, by golly, hold on to it, because they love when you believe the lies. I don't know if you've noticed the last 2 years. That's all it is lies. And they're like, got another one, we're good. We're good, yeah. Reason just put out another why vaccines are good article. Yes, they're buying it. Sweet. So what we're living through also is not like a race war or a gender war, political war. It's a class war, like 100%. And we need to be driving this point home hardcore. This is not the leftist versus the rightist. Yes, there are some that are worse than others. But the real thing here is who is pushing those people to be that awful? This is the powers that be dividing, distracting, and depleting us of our value, stripping away our humanity, taking away our value, so that we don't know how much power we really have and what kind of possibilities we are capable of as the individual if we could actually, like, you know, unlock our brains and unlock our freedom in our personal lives. They know that we are this body that has more power than they allow us to believe, and if we knew that, if we accepted that, embraced that, and moved forward with it, they know that we would win. You are the power, as some might say. I came up with that. You're welcome, Spike Cohen. Yeah. And so we don't want to be like Alex Jones, obviously. That's a crazy stereotype to have. He's crazy. He's a pariah. He's been banned. And he's also led millions of people to start focusing on what's happening in the world. Like, I disagree with Alex Jones on a whole lot of shit. I think he's like possibly a CIA plant. I don't know. But he's also like opened up a million people's minds to libertarianism, to just not trusting their government. All conspiracies are is just not trusting your government a little bit more. If this like all sounds like religious mumbo jumbo, it's because it is. Like, this is all life. Like, all this stuff is life. Like the ways, I don't know, our culture is life, the politics are life, the conspiracies are life. All of this stuff goes into our life, and it's all, like, there's truth in all of it that we're being blocked off from, as you're probably aware. But anything that we experience, it's all life, so just be real, be human, be humble enough to interact with people that you disagree with, and if a clown world just happens to think you're crazy, then I don't think that makes you wrong, personally. So challenge narratives, challenge yourself, be humble and open-minded, have discernment, and question everything, and lighten up. For the love of God, lighten up, you guys. Because it's 2021. It's 2022, I lost here. Because it's 2022. I should probably write that down right, hold on. Because it's 2022, and we're all Alex Jones now. Thank you guys for bearing. And long live the Libertarian Party of Delaware.